Hello and welcome to Health Talk. I'm Julie Bandera, sitting in for Dr. Manny. You know all those diets you've been on, myself included, that didn't work? Well, guess what? They were set up to fail. That's right, it's them, not you. Oh, what good news. My guest today says counting calories and cutting fat aren't the keys of losing weight. Tapping into your hormones is actually the real trick. Who knew? Joining me now is Dr. Jason Fung. He's the author of the Obesity Code, Unlocking the Secrets of Weight Loss. Thank you for being here. And now unlock this book for us and tell us all the secrets. And apparently, we've been doing it all wrong all these years. I mean, what have we been doing wrong when it comes to diet and weight loss?
Well, I think what we've done is we focused on the wrong issue, which is calories. So for 20, 30 years, all we've talked about is cutting calories, reducing calories. But the issue is that the medical studies are actually quite clear. It doesn't make any difference. So we have huge studies like the Women's Health Initiative where thousands of women reduce their calories by an average of 350 over 7 years. And how much weight was lost? Not even a single pound. That's after 7 years of eat less and move more. Because the issue is not really calories. If you look at the success rate of these diets that we've advised, the failure rate is roughly 99%. And that jives with all of our experiences because truly, who hasn't done these caloric reduction diets? I have. It doesn't work.
It's really about the kinds of food you eat more than it is the calories. And I myself have gone through this before. I mean, when you eat any kind of caloric intake, even if it's a low caloric intake, if you're eating sugar, it's not good. It doesn't matter how many calories. Sugar's a bad thing. I mean, sugar, all the sugar does is make you want to eat more. And so it's really, you're defeating the whole purpose of dieting.
That's exactly right. And this is the thing about the calories that we have incorrect, is that if you believe that it's all about calories, then you could, for example, eat 1,000 calories of brownies for dinner instead of a salad with olive oil, vinegar, and grilled salmon.
Which makes 0 sense. And there's a lot of calories in olive oil, but then you got to take into account MUFA fats, which are obviously much more healthy calories. And healthy fats, and you need your healthy fats. You can't just cut out all fat and calories. How do our hormones play a role in our weight loss?
So that's what I discuss in this book. If it's not calories, then what is it? Well, every system in our body weight included, is controlled by hormones, and the main hormone here is insulin. So here's a startling fact. I can make you fat. I can make anybody fat. How do I do that? I prescribe insulin. So if I prescribe insulin, or if I give drugs that increase insulin, you will gain weight. And it doesn't matter what you eat or how much you exercise, you will still gain weight. And every doctor and every patient who takes insulin knows that already. So it's really about the insulin, which is telling our body to store fat and gain body fat. That's the instructions it gets. And different foods have different insulin-raising abilities. So that olive oil we talked about, that healthy fat, stimulates insulin very little, whereas the sugar and white flour and white bread, it stimulates it a lot. So for the same number of calories, you're getting completely different effects. And we can't pretend that those two amounts, equal calorie amounts, are going to do the same thing. As soon as it goes in our mouth, the hormonal effect on our body is completely different.
How can you tell what will work for you in terms of weight loss? We are all different, obviously. I mean, one diet might work for you that doesn't work for me. If my husband goes on a diet, he can lose 10 pounds in a week, and I want to shoot him when it takes me months to do that.
Well, exactly. And once you understand that it's really, obesity is a hormonal imbalance, not a caloric imbalance, then you can try and focus on what it is that's out of balance. And there's actually two key issues with our diet. One is what we eat. And we talk about that all the time. Should you eat sugar? Should you eat refined grains? Should you eat healthy fats? And certainly there's a lot of that goes on there. But the other issue we don't talk a lot about is the meal timing, or when to eat. And that's the thing that's really important. That's what's changed. If you go back to 1977 and you look at dietary surveys, people ate 3 times a day, breakfast, lunch, dinner. That was it.
So you're saying the snacking, that misconception that snacking all day, every 3 hours, have a little snack, that's a misconception.
Absolutely.
We're being told wrong.
Absolutely. And when you look at it physiologically, our body really only exists in 2 states, the fed state and the fasted state. So in the fed state, insulin levels are high and you're trying to store body fat because that's food energy. You need to store it. In the fasted state, insulin levels go down. You don't eat, you're fasting. Insulin levels go down, and you burn energy. So in essence, what happens is that you're either storing fat or you're burning fat, right? So if you eat from the minute that you get up to the minute you go to sleep, you're spending all day in the fed state, and you're not letting your body metabolize and burn off that fat.
So you're saying fasting is a good thing. We need to fast occasionally. I mean, what is fasting? Exactly. What are the benefits of fasting?
Well, actually, it has a lot more benefits than just weight loss. Weight loss is the most obvious benefit, but in terms of reduction of insulin resistance, it actually has a number of benefits. And even everybody thinks that fasting is some kind of cruel and unusual punishment, but it's not. The very word itself, if you think about the word breakfast, it's the meal that breaks your fast. So it means two things.
That's
One
true.
is that it's part of everyday life. You can't break your fast if you're not fasting. So we should be fasting. You have to balance out the periods that you're in the fed state and the periods that you're in the fasting state. If you can balance those, then you won't gain weight.
Give me an example then. If I were to fast, how would you, I mean, because breakfast is a perfect example. If you're sleeping, let's say, 6 to 8 hours a night, you've just gone 6 to 8 hours without eating, so essentially you are fasting. Of course, and when you're sleeping, it's much easier not to eat. So what about fasting in our wake hours?
Yeah, exactly, and that's what you need to do. You can simply extend it. So, for example, if you eat in an 8-hour eating window, so say you eat from 11 a.m. to 7 p.m. And you fast the other 16 hours, that's a 16-hour fast. If you go back to the 1950s, obesity is very uncommon. And people eat, for example, breakfast at 7 and maybe dinner at 7. There's 12 hours of feeding and 12 hours of fasting. So they're balanced. But now we eat, the minute we get up, we eat constantly throughout the day. And then we eat bedtime snacks and snacks between their halves of the soccer game and stuff like that. So we're spending 18 hours, 16 hours in the fed state, and we wonder why we're off. So if you want to lose weight, then all you need to do is extend that period. So you can go to 16 hours, or you could even go 24 hours. So for example, you could go from dinner to dinner or lunch to lunch. And simply what we tell people in our clinic is think of it like you're eating your own body fat, because that's all you're doing. That body fat is nothing but stored food energy.
Right, and in order to burn fat, you have to get those insulin levels down. Best way to do it is by fasting.
And that's the fastest and most efficient way to release it.
How can people learn more about your book?
They can get it from anywhere. It's on any bookstore and Amazon. It's called The Obesity Code, and it goes through all the science of why the caloric reduction theory was
It's all common sense as well. I mean, it's just, and it's crazy because people really don't get it. I mean, so they need to read this book in order to really truly understand.
What your grandmother
Because it's a perfect example about the sugar intake versus caloric intake. I mean, eating the brownies versus the olive oil. And if you look at the sugar and fat grams in olive oil or olives or avocado, they're high. So people think, oh, well, I can eat these 6 Oreos because they're equal in sugar or they're equal in calories, but that makes no sense.
Absolutely.
Thank God somebody wrote a book about it. Thank you very much for talking to us. We really appreciate it. Dr. Jason Fung, thank you very much. And if you have a health question, you can send your tweet to Dr. Manny on Fox. I'm Julie Banderas. Thanks for watching, everyone.